Welcome back to Yeti, episode 108. Early on, our sponsor situation for next year was really looking pretty grim. We weren't getting any pluses. The current sponsor, Mitchelton, didn't care much for getting entry into World Tour races. We'd already been there and done that, and so they weren't a big fan of it. And so it was going to be really hard to get a high score. So as we get into some of our later offers, well, we had gotten to the stage of the Giro and being successful there, and we were starting to raise that profile. And we had gotten into all those races that we were needing to, and so we were pushing the number into the 80. Lately, the offers have come up. Started the year at 1,206,000 for the year. Recently, of course, like I said, the Giro went well. We had multiple stage victories and a top 10 finish. And so it really, really raised the profile. But that still only pushed us into the low 80s. But over the last month, well, that's risen quite a bit more. Lombardia is still waiting for the invitation on that one. That's a chance for another point or two. But otherwise, we win 15 races. Now, the only races we had won were all snowball situations, all of them. But we've just been through there's still a couple left actually, most of the national championships, and suddenly the 15 that we needed is done, and then some. We're at 17 already. So we got a little boost to the profile from that, and with the 89 and with a high visibility recently with that strong performance, Giro / all those national championship victories, you're going to see this number not only get replicated. I mean, you see the Abarth was only just shy of the 1.3. Gazprom, I would never side with them, so I'm really glad this is not the one I'm going to have to side. We're not going to go for a Russian oligarch. Nope, not happening. 1.37, though, was a good offer. But here is 1.38 and a one-year deal for Williams Martini and Team Europe car, and then a bit less for Lampra. So Williams Martini, it is. That's ideal. I mean, look at all of those. That's the sponsor. My favorite F1 team, my underdog guys. I love that they've given us a suitable offer. About 180,000 just about. So 180,000 for the course of the year means we're talking an extra almost 15K a month. Very brief look at the stages we're going to contest, which is quite a few. First off, the punchy stages. 1, 2, 7, and 14. I am bringing 2 sprinters to this race. It's not going to be a great lead out for them. It's more about those punchy stages and an opportunity there. But a few unusual profiles might give us a chance in a sprint, albeit unlikely. We have 3, 6 with the crosswinds, 12 with some additional crosswinds, and of course the Champs-Élysées. 2 time trials, stage 5 and stage 20. And out of all the mountain stages, there's only 3 that I'm going to try to contest. The rest I will let the AI handle it and let Vatsek get what his result may be. But that's stages 8, 15, and 16. This is the 2021 version of the tour. Well, stage 1 was absolute chaos, and I wasn't recording. I have not done that in years. Holy crap. Well, let me give you the rundown. The race was very casual and normal till about this point. You had 4 riders in the break, and the field was not that far behind. Those 4 riders were well under control, and here tempo started to lift. Now, there's still, like 70K to go at that point. As the tempo lifted, the guys weren't blinking red yet, but the field was starting to stretch and move, and Vatsek was behind a rider who was a little bit off the pace. And he lost a couple bike lengths compared to his teammates. He was not blinking red. He was not having a problem. Vatsek's our best guy, right? He's easily manageable. The field split in between that little group as that field had stretched. And Vatsek ends up in a group of close to 100 riders chasing. 3 to 4 kilometers later, as the gap before that group got organized and anybody wanted to chase, Shaw was there protecting Vatsek. Everybody else was in that front group, that small group of 39. 3K later, Vacek and Shaw wiped each other out. Two-man crash, down to just those two. By the time they got on their bike, they were 6 minutes behind. But there was absolutely no way, because of the big acceleration that had just happened and a split in the field. The front group of 39 decided when the separation happened that they wanted to go full gas. The chase group, while it took them a little bit to get organized, ended up just over a minute behind, and then of course they were going full gas. So the only chance we would have had to recover Vacek and get him into the field would have been to literally drop the entire team out of that front group, go back all the way to Vacek, and hope that we can bring him back in. So I said, screw it, Vacek's done. GC is not happening for this race at all. He recovered some ground. He overtook a lot of riders, but he was well down, about 8 or 9 minutes down by the finish line. That chase group that lost contact never did regain contact. The 39, who caught and overtook the breakaway quite quickly, would go on to claim the stage. And beginning at about 20K out, and really for these final trio of climbs, we took over. I did not take over until that time. So all of this time, the melee and splitting up that back group had a few riders from the 39 getting dropped, really not many. There was a good 35 left at the base of this climb. I took over at that point. Immediately, 2 domestiques, including Haddad, who was on a negative race day condition, got dropped. So I had 4 guys to handle 3 climbs. Zayats handled the first climb and split the group from 35 down to about 23. He dropped about a dozen riders in that climb with that effort, and then he himself quickly went out the back. Then Abdullah handled climb number 2, bringing it down to about 16 to 18 riders left as we headed towards the final climb. And then we hit the base of the climb. Abdullah did his last little ounce of energy for 200 meters, and then Panamar took over. Immediately though, we've had ourselves down to 5 riders in contention: Pogacar, Montez, and Panamar, and then Baggioli and Gregoire. We had split off the others, with Panamar leading out. Well, Pogacar attacked and went clear. It's Pogacar. There was no keeping up with him, and he started to ride off. But very quickly you could see that he had spent his energy and he was struggling to reach the finish line, so we were coming back at him pretty quickly. Panamar, though, leading out, split off first Gregoire, and then split off Baggioli as well. Now, the next group that was just a few bike lengths behind included Max Poole and Olaf Koish. Those two left behind their group and started to chase us down. But Panamar, spent, gives way to Montez, who attacks, going solo, chasing down Pogacar. By the finish line, none of those guys had any energy. My 2, none of the others. They were all completely spent. But Pogacar hangs on for a 14-second victory, so stealing away what would have been a sure snowball. We were headed for a 1-3 finish, but Pogacar's Pogacar. So Montez takes second. Koish just overtakes Panamar before the finish line. He was spent too, but he was just like, they're both spent energy. He was just going that little bit faster and went from a half bike length behind to a half bike length ahead of Panamar. So Koish gets third, Panamar gets fourth, and Max Poole, not sure how he got same time because he was a few bike lengths behind. Should have been about 32 to 35 seconds down. But Baggioli then crosses the line, and Gregoire, the other 2 remnants of the group. We put together the perfect finishing race, but Pogacar was just too strong. I mean, his ratings are insane, and he's already going to be putting on the yellow jersey, and you would suspect that he's going to wear it for the next 20 days, or 20 stages. He's going to go out there and dominate, and he's going to make it really hard for us to go claim some stage victories unless from the break. But back to the point, because the gaps are big already. I mean, he's already got 4 minutes on anybody outside of the top 20, and a lot of guys in the top 20 are not contenders. So the contenders are going to try to come forward when we hit the mountains and we hit the time trials and make their way. For now, they're not going to have pressure, and it's going to be a little harder on UAE to keep an eye on things. But they've got such a big gap. I really don't think they're going to have too much trouble. There is absolutely no threat. Montez is not a threat. He's a 70 mountain. Koish is a 62. Panamar's a 70 mountain. Poole, well, okay, Poole could be a little bit of a threat. Bagioli's a 75 mountain. He's a great puncher, but I suppose Poole is suddenly the only contender left. Half a minute already behind Pogacar. So the race is decided after one stage. That chaos, that melee has... I'm really sorry that I was not recording that one, but all I can do is move on. In my defense, what happened on stage 1, I'm sick as a dog right now, and my brain is operating at about half capacity, so mistakes will be made, and the only mistake I made on that first stage was not hitting record, as we came incredibly close to claiming victory. And at least now there's literally no pressure. We are going to be able to join breakaways when that time comes, and with huge gaps. I could see it coming sooner rather than later, that you're going to see, breakaways claiming victories. Today, not that day, not yet, but we've got, 3 categorized sections coming up here in the next little bit, but it really is just one semi-significant climb out of the trio, and then the finishing climb for this one as we have a punchy stage number 2. I'm not too worried about this first one yet, but I am worried about holding our position. So we are going to up the effort. Here it is. Nobody's even interested in the point. Should I be? No, I'm not interested in the KOM. We're not going to play all 21 stages. We're doing 13. Okay, now seems the time though. Now, this climb right here, this hill, that's going to be one of your first decisive moments. And so we're going to use our non-climbers to get out there, Shaw and Harasim. Alright, so Shaw is going to try to get us out front here. Get a good move on before the hill. And we want to watch what his tempo is compared to those behind him. Harasim is having a hard time keeping up with it. Zayat is feeling it a little bit, but really we're countering anything that Movie Star is doing right now. And UAE. And they sit up. There we can move on to Harasim. Don't care about the KOM. This is just setting up the stage. Shaw, get onto the back. He actually might be able to give us a second go. Let's put him more in the middle. Nope. Shaw can't keep up with the pace. Let's get out of the way. Harasim as well. Just break toe behind us. Alright. Well, that's it for the trio of climbs, and now we've got somebody with a good flat rating, Zayat's, and a good downhill rating. It's kind of a little mix of the two, so we'll keep him at a 99 as we start to split the field a little bit, setting us up for the final climb. And Harasim and Shaw will have something left here, but I don't think I need to. $5K, that's everybody else. Zayat's setting a good tempo, but not a great tempo, but we're going to be on to Haddad as we... Glad I looked at the mini-map because I was almost fooled by that right-hander. Okay, now we're starting to climb. So Haddad, who's not a puncher. .8.
The pace seems much too high for many riders.
Okay, on to Abdullah. Okay, this is cresting. We're not going to win the stage, though. It's Pogacar again, just to beat out Mataway. No, Mataway beats him to the line. Wow, how did he do that? Mataway takes the win ahead of Pogacar. Groussard, competitive, but just not punchy enough compared to their ratings. We had the lead out. We saved a little bit of red bar. Vacek didn't even actually use up all of his on the way to the finish line, but that's not because we went at the wrong time. It's because he was caught in traffic and couldn't find any clean air to out-sprint others. He ends up 16th on the stage, and his guys leading him out finished ahead of them because they were better positioned to begin with. 10, 11, 13, 16. No splits this time. Definitely did not play out as perfectly as stage 1 did. This is the most unlikely of the 4 sprints, as it's relatively pure sprint territory. Breakaway's already been caught, so all 176 in the peloton are here together. This section is what makes me go, well, maybe, just maybe. And speaking of maybe, just maybe, 4 riders already on fitness peaks, even though it's only stage 3. Fatsec included in that. But Shaw has a +5, Harasim has a +5. There's a real shot here for these guys to be able to do something on a day such as this. And with these really good race day conditions, I have a feeling I can push on a little bit earlier, a little bit harder, and make things difficult on the other sprinters around me. So we're going to start setting things up early. Now, the only rider with a poor flat rating today is Haddad, and he's going to get us started. He keeps getting bad draws on any major race. Like, he's got a -3 draw today. Stage 1, he had a -4 draw. Get Abdullah ready, 15K. Haddad's already done enough to at least get into the first position, ever so slightly. Let him push kind of through this hill here, but we'll have Abdullah ready just in case. And no, nobody's pushing on through there. So Haddad continues to work. Now we're starting to see that little acceleration. Let's go ahead and get moving coming out of there. Haddad. Squeezing your team is not helpful. That little bit of undulation. This is where my hopes are. But those +5s for Shaw and Harasim should make them much more competitive than normal. 9K, and we've only burnt 2 riders, so yeah, keep going. It'll probably be a mass sprint finish. 7.5. We're actually starting to split off some riders, and there's some downhill coming, so there's no reason for us to save anybody at this point. So on to that sec. 5K. Gels. That's handling the descent, and he's a very good descender, so that's good. 3.5K out. I'm tempted to start soft sprinting as we have numbers behind him, but he is a sprinter. But there's so much technical stuff going on here. Montez, Zayats, Harasim, Shaw still on the wheel, but we're not getting clear. Even with the bonuses, we're not faster than these guys. Harasim and Shaw are making their way up on Dali and Koish and Groves, but they just can't overtake these guys. Well, my performance isn't going to get any better, obviously. The first stage was great. You didn't even see it. I've made at least one mistake on each of the stages, and I think that's something that's only going to continue. I need to go get back in bed and get some rest. And I'll see you for the next one as we continue to hunt stages at the Tour de France after stage 1 went better than expected and worse than expected, and created a total toss-up on, well, an end to any GC hopes and put us in a stage hunting only scenario. And then we nearly won that first stage anyway. We'll have plenty more opportunities. In fact, there's 10 more opportunities to claim a stage, but time trialing, well, that kind of rules out 2 of them, and maybe I'll skip those 2 time trials now that GC is not going to matter. So I think we're down to 11 stages at this point, so 8 remain. But that's going to do it for this one. I'm the Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.